Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL, Reading Between the Lines. I know I've been gone from YouTube for a long time, so if you are watching this video, you're gonna be one of those people that support this channel, and I appreciate your viewership. But I'm gonna be talking about the new event that's sort of coming, what this means and what I think this means for the game itself, also my tips on what you should be crafting just in case you're not 100% sure. So clearly, if you've been playing Epic 7 since November of last year, you would have seen that the game is in sort of a drought. Now, a lot of people don't think that it's in a drought, and it's fine because, like, you know, we got, like, you know, hunt buffs and all that stuff. But overall, Smilegate hadn't delivered on a lot of the content stuff that we'd be expecting near the end of 2022, all right? So we're now, like, almost halfway in 2023, so I'm hoping stuff gets picked up. And this video showcasing the, you know, the event that's coming up, it's not like made in like a week or anything. There's voiceovers, there's like some animations involved, so they've had this planned, right? It's just that Smilegate hasn't been really transparent, so we haven't been able to see a lot of the stuff. And this is partially why I've been disappeared on YouTube in general. It's just didn't really feel motivated. Like, if Smilegate is not motivated to tell us what's going on with the game or what's upcoming, and not finishing off, you know, Expo 5, 3v3 Arena, all these things that were promised before, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, bother making videos about it. But this event itself, in my opinion, is quite a game changer in terms of my forecast of the game in general. The very fact that you get to select the substats, although locked to 88 gear, tells me a lot about the way that they're thinking about the game, and I'm just gonna share my thoughts. Okay, so the first things first, let's talk about the event itself. So as I don't know what, like the cat girl, whatever, cutie, talking to OpSig, on April 27th, we're gonna start a new event. This event is gonna be sort of like the Artina event, where players do certain things. I think it's daily rep, weekly rep, and also energy used. X amount of energy used equals points. So kind of like the Artina event, where you can kind of grind and then do modifications. You get to select 2 items that will be epic gear, obviously, and will be 88 though. So what this tells me is that in the past, I used to think like, okay, what's the next step, like natural progression for like the gear power creep, right? So eventually we'll probably reach a point where like I-90 gear won't be the end, right? Maybe another 3 years or something like that, who knows. But originally I was thinking, hey, maybe they'll, like, to kind of slow down the power creep, they'll just kind of add a little modifier to the 88 gear, which, let's say I-91 or I-92 or something like that, which 88 gear you can't craft, right? So it's like, it feels like it's a good power balance if they wanted to increase the power creep. But with this event, and maybe more events like this, where you get to select the substats, and apparently at the max roll of the substat itself, maybe what I thought won't be happening. So what I mean is, if 88 gear gets sort of like an 85 to a 990 treatment, 88 gets some kind of buff, this type of event will make 88 gear insanely good, right? Unless they lower modifications where, like, 85 gear, if you roll speed once, you get +1 speed on I-90 gear. Maybe an 88 transformation would be like you have to roll speed twice to get 1 speed or something like that. I can sort of see that maybe working, but regardless, what I mean is, I can kind of foresee that they're like 88 gear is not going to be the next, you know, base tier to get to the next level. That's what I'm trying to get to. 88 gear in and of itself though has been always kind of confusing, a hidden back end thing that Epic 7 doesn't want to surface to us, but something that we can see is that the old Arena 88 gear, it started with low rolls, like 6% HP, 6% like defense, whereas like something in Hell Raid, before it was Nightmare Raid, you had like 9% HP, 9% defense, right? So quite a vast difference in terms of the starting. And 88 gear in the past have always seemed to roll very, very low, whereas once we got to Hell Raid level, like immunity chest, speed set, swords, they rolled like good. They rolled like almost as good as I-90, right? Like maybe -1 or 2 gear score, but like it had the potential. And now we see Nightmare Raid, where bosses are dropping different grades of 88 gear, where we have like high grade, which is like the 9956 6 crit rate. And we gotta get the low gear stuff too, like the stuff that we saw in the old school arena 88s. So I'm just assuming that this system is going to be the high grade 88 based on the substats that they've kind of displayed in this example video. So that's just something to keep in mind though. Like how it rolls is a totally different question, but we'll see. Anyways, it's not really re-rolling the gear. It seems to be you rolling the gear through this event portal. So it's not like there's any RNG aspect to it. That's what I'm assuming, okay? There's no RNG aspect. It's going to be a set amount of substats. It just depends on which substats you want, like in terms of the roll, okay? So same thing. You spend points to select the sets, just like the Artina gear event. So that's nothing new. But in this, we do get, what's really cool is that we get left side gear. We get to select one left side gear and one right side gear. For the Artina event, because it comes like once every 3, maybe 4 months, sometimes you feel hesitant, right? You'd be like, okay, I think, you know, best case scenario would obviously be roll right side gear, but sometimes you want a helmet. Sometimes you want to, I mean, you probably don't want a chest or a sword for the Artina event, but sometimes you want a helmet or something. What's really good about this event is that obviously you don't have to choose. You give you one of the you get both, right? So what's really good is that in this opportunity we will definitely want to choose the helmet. This is my recommendation, at least. If you, okay, so when you're crafting anything in any event, and especially in this one, you don't want to think about, this is just my personality, you don't want to think about a build you want to complete. You want to be able to roll the best gear for the most universal use possible, ideally to your playstyle. I'm gonna add that little caveat at the end there, because to your playstyle means that, you know, some people might want like a, you know, a 77 78 gear score helmet that is very bruiser based, so it's like very high in like bulk instead of like pure speed DPS, right? So, you know, there are players who will want that, but for me, I am most likely going to be aiming for on the helmet slot, and I will only recommend helmet is for me is speed or torrent set. Torrent is just because I want high damage dealers that can be high speed as well, but like for the general, I think you want to go with universal sets, so stuff like counter set, speed set, you know, stuff like that, so that no matter what substats you decide on choosing, it can shift with the meta. So what I mean is this: you probably don't want to have, let's say, you probably don't want to make an injury helmet for your injury ed. The only reason why I'd say something like this is like, maybe injury is really good for you right now, maybe injury is really good for meta right now, but in the future, that hero that you built that helmet for, or that set that you built that for that hero, might not be the meta set for that hero, and heck, that hero might not even become meta later. Like, it might be put on the bench. So that's why the universal thought process is definitely going to be the best way to go. It's just going to be your best investment. Like, assuming this event comes around like once in a while, I wouldn't mind a duplicate of like a max speed set helmet. You know what I mean? So for me, my consideration would be like helmet is the best slot because helmet has the most RNG. If you look at your gear inventory, your weakest points in terms of your left side gear will most likely be helmet. Now, if you're one of those players that say, well, no, Jagan, helmets are some of my best gear, then you're a luck sack, because probability wise, you have the lowest probability to have the best helmets in the game. So you roll the helmet for sure. So in terms of like a DPS, right? A speed DPS or perfect piece of DPS gear on the helmet is simple: attack percent, crit rate, crit damage, and speed. If you want the highest gear score. Now, if you're one of those like weird people that want pure damage but no speed, then obviously you swap the speed for the flat attack. But regardless, I wouldn't even recommend that anyway. I would just put the speed in there, but you know, roll attack percent to highest or something like that. But either way, this is what I'm going for: helmet with attack percent, crit rate, crit damage, and speed. For those of you who don't know about gear score and don't know why that's important, I did make a video on this a long time ago, now a couple years ago, I guess. on my YouTube channel called how do you spot good gear or something, and basically it's teaching you at least how to calculate min-max rolls and gear score. When it comes to 88s, gear score becomes more important because you don't get that extra bonus that you get from an 85 to an I-90 gear. So speed will always be a modification of 2 and crit rate will always be a modification of 1.6. So that means that speed and crit rate will be the best substats to go for, especially if you're going for a DPS. If you're gonna go for like, you know, bruiser and stuff like that, you will be lowering your gear score just by default, but it is what it is. So I mean, if you need to do that, I didn't do it, but I personally wouldn't recommend it. I would go high speed DPS piece for sure. So maximize your crit rate, maximize your speed for the helmet slot, unless you want to do attack percent. That's up to you, because some DPS that Smilegate's releasing now, their base attack is so high that attack percent often feels like it merits more value, but crit rate is always like something that you like. You can never really have too much crit rate, right? You just balance out with the boot and stuff. Anyway, so that's the helmet slot. So we get left side gear, and then we get the right side gear. Now the right side gear is where I'm gonna be more picky on. So when we get to the substats, we'll see that there's a limit, right? There's a limit on how quote unquote broken the system is. Crit damage neck attack ring percent would be the way I would go with this, and I would definitely stick to speed set for these. So instead of my dilemma on the helmet, torrent set or speed set, 100% speed set. If you're going pure DPS and speed is your main priority in terms of your substats. If you're going for bruisery stuff, obviously, you know, I won't talk about that, but you know, to each their own there. When it comes to boot is actually a decent one to consider for 88s. This is just my thought, okay? Because boots, you're gonna get 45 speed. You're gonna get a speed boot. You're gonna get 45 speed on it, which there is no variance for the 88s versus the I-90. Whereas the maximum speed you can get on the rings and the necklace, according to this, would be something like 17 speed. So you can think about it that way. And then for boots, like the best boot is most likely gonna be speed boot, speed set with maximum crit rate rolled, and then the following remaining subs into crit damage or attack percent. Why I'm saying that is that hopefully I'm making myself clear in terms of articulating this, but speed boot, you're guaranteed 45 speed, right? So the base stat is really good. And how many of us have like 20 plus crit rate speed set boots that have pure DPS stats in them? Like how many do you have? Like I think I have 2 max. One of them is a purple gear, so already missing a roll. So very high consideration in my opinion is that you can, you know, focus on crit rate crit rate substats on the boot, and then but you have the 45 speed, which is equal to an I-90 gear, right? So yeah, it's pretty good value. Usually for the Artina event, I would never recommend anyone to make a boot, because conversion gems, you get enough boots out of those, even though there are RNG considerations there. But because you're limited on speed in terms of the ring and the neck, the boot becomes an actual decent option. I would say, like, I wouldn't blame you if you chose the boot, right? But again, make sure the substats you're getting are the right ones and the most universal and bang for buck. Whereas when it comes to the necklace and the ring, if you're going for offensive, which I would suggest, crit damage with 17 speed is not going to be easy, all right? It's not going to be, you're not going to get them all the time. Or rings with 17 speed and speed set. Now, if you're going to go with anything like a speed set HP neck, just keep in mind that if you start going with HP percent, defense percent, attack percent necklace, you are losing value in terms of overall stats on your character, right? So just keep in mind how gear score works. Crit rate will benefit the most stats on the necklace slot, and then comes crit damage, and then comes HP percent, defense percent, and attack percent. Okay, so in terms of you're missing out on half a roll if you decide to go with HP, and you're gaining half a roll with crit damage. and you're gaining another almost full roll with crit rate on the necklace slot. Okay, so you want to make sure you're using the best bang for buck. The only reason why I'd say I'm going crit damage and not going for the maximum amount is that most of my damage dealers, you know, they either have crit rate self imprints, or I can find it with a crit set or something along those lines. So for me, speed set crit damage neck is definitely the way to go for me, so I'm definitely going to commit to that. And then the rings, I did a double check in my inventory. I have more attack percent rings with higher speed than I do crit damage necks, so that just makes it easy for me. If you're thinking about anything else, like I said, I already told you the gear score modifiers for your main stat, so just something for you to consider in case you think that, oh, this is going to be my new DJB necklace, or you know, a high speed resistance ring perfect for my Ahmed or something along those lines. Just think about that you are losing value on the necklace slot. But when it comes to the ring slot, you know, attack percent versus ER versus HP defense, those are all the same. So realistically, the ring could be anything and still be high value. So I would say if you're going to choose the ring, anything works. But necklace, definitely go crit damage, crit rate, and then HP, consider those things, right? So that's my thoughts on that. Let's keep moving here to the substats, which is super cool. Yeah, so they talk about this in the video. So you get to select your 4 substats, which we all know, right? So substat selector, super awesome. So you get straight to the point, right? None of that Artina RNG where you're rolling for the perfect subs. Okay, so now this is the screen where I think there seems to be most speculation, right? So on the screen, it would seem that when you're rolling the subs, it will always roll to the max that it allows. The example used here is that there's 17 speed. So this would be like, because if it's a high forged 88, it would start at 5 speed, and then you roll 3 more, maximum of 3 per substat, right? So you should keep that in mind. This is why I recommended the boot. If you're looking for high speed DPS, the boot is actually a decent option. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, so it starts at 5 speed, and then it can roll 3 times 4 speed. Okay, this is the based on this, right? So assuming there's no RNG, because 88 gear, especially like Hell Raid level 88 gear, can roll 5 speed. I've rolled more 5 speeds on my 88 Hell Raid gear than I ever rolled 5 speeds on 85 gear. So I think there is a slightly higher chance for you to get 5 speed. But based on this, because it's like a event based, again, you're getting your equipment through this web portal. Most likely it's going to be some kind of web portal. There's most likely no RNG involved. So that's why the mass majority of the community is assuming that you're just going to get the max roll, but not the max that starts on the gear. You understand? So it should start at 5 speed, but then it's going to roll you 4 speed thereafter. And I'm curious about the crit rate. Like, does the crit rate roll 1 crit lower? I think maybe they even talk about it. Maybe I missed it. But if I did miss it, let me know in the comments down below. Or is this room for speculation, right? But if it was based on RNG of how the R gear rolls, technically speaking, you can be higher than 17 speed. But like I said, I do believe that because it's through this kind of web portal thing, it's going to be kind of like very strict. There's no RNG involved at all. You spend the points, you get exactly what you get. So in this case, if I'm gonna be making, I'm most likely making a crit damage necklace. So a 17 speed crit damage necklace with the crit rate like maxed out, capped out, you know. So here's like how you acquire the points to actually use it. And as you can see there, I mean, I don't need to read it, but acquire 50 for the daily reputation rewards, and then the weekly ones will give you 2,800 points, and then every 100 energy you plus 5 more points. So this is April 27th. It's coming in a week, and if you have not spammed all of your Advent side story, I would just recommend you wait for that. Like, in case you're free to play and you want to roll, and you want to get all the items as well. They talk about a shop later. So when you're done with the points, and you can also reset your gear. I guess this is only for people who change their mind. So yeah, Merurin was asking, well, what if you change your mind? So like, see, this cartoon is like, it's like super cute, right? So Epic Summon is still doing stuff. It's just it's just in video form. That comment is just to my prior comment in the video. But yeah, so you can reset, all right, and then you know, so it's all good. So if you change your mind, and then yeah, what do you do with remaining points? So this is something that's cool too. So this is why I do recommend that if you are free to play or you have low Skystone or low Leaf and you want to maximize on this event, you probably can save the Advent side story and fully grind it after after this event has been released, right? So Advent side story doesn't go away until like 2 weeks from now, I think. So once this event starts, you can have 1 full week to grind the Advent, and then obviously your hunts and all that stuff. But as you can see, there's some good stuff. The Ascension Potion is okay. Nothing too crazy from what I see, but like any charm, anything like that, it's all worth picking up. And then you can obviously get some gold out of that, which is not bad either, right? So overall, the event looks pretty cool. It's definitely getting people excited because, you know, it's gear that you can you can get, and I know people are already planning what, you know, characters they want their gear on and stuff like that. So yeah, but anyways, those are kind of like my thoughts of the event, my tips. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Maybe I missed something. I don't think I did, but those were like kind of like the things I wanted to bring up just in case people can benefit from that info. Anyways, I'm gonna end this here for this session of RBTL. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.